Good. All right, welcome. This is the Ways and Means Committee meeting, 6 o'clock Tuesday, June 5th. We call the meeting to order and acknowledge that the press and public have been duly notified of the meeting in accordance with Freedom of Information Act. Nicole, can we do a roll call, please?
Sure. Councilmember Popson,
Here.
Councilmember Streetman,
Here.
Councilmember Moy,
Here.
Councilmember Ward,
Here.
Councilmember Buchanan,
Here.
Councilmember Bell,
Here.
Councilmember Smith,
Here.
Mayor Carroll,
Here.
Councilmember Pounds.
Here.
You have a quorum?
Thank you. Next item is approval of previous meetings minutes from our May 18th meeting. Do I hear a motion?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Any changes, comments, questions? Nicole?
Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Bell.
Aye.
Councilmember Buchanan.
Aye.
Councilmember Ward,
Aye.
Councilmember Moy.
Aye.
Councilmember Streetman,
Aye.
Councilmember Popson,
Aye.
Mayor Carroll,
Aye.
Councilmember Pounds.
Aye.
All in favor?
Thank you. Citizens' comments. I know we have a couple signed up. Nicole, who's?
Thank you. I'm George Page. I live on Isle of Palms Forest Trail area. I'm here representing the VFW Post 3137 over here on the coast. We have already been approved by the ATAX committee for the grant money that we're requesting. I just wanted to reassure you that the money will be going to good use. We are an organization that rely on donations. There is a little bit of money that comes in through dues, but most of that goes to the national and state organizations. But some of the things we do that support the tourism and cultural aspects is we actually maintain the boardwalk and the shower over here in between the Windjammer and us. We have a nice mural on the side of the wall of the Windjammer. We provide the beach cameras that everybody says the Windjammers, but it's on our property and we're the ones who provide it and we're the ones who actually maintain it. We do regular trash pickup. A lot of us do at the same time. We do flag ceremonies regularly. We do something almost for any patriotic event. We're also a huge gathering place whenever there's a special event downtown. A lot of people come from a lot further than just 50 mile away or a lot past Somerville. Most of our funding goes to all of our funding, with the exception of the maintenance of building and that kind of thing, go to support vets and their families. And just a few things is we make sure that Christmas is very good to the kids whose children whose parents are deployed. We are involved with angel parents. Those are people who've lost children in a deployment. We're very big with the VA downtown. Anytime they need food, clothing, homeless help, we're there to assist them and provide monetary and physical assistance like clothing and that kind of thing. We also support the VA home in Walterboro in the same way. We also work as much as we can with the veterans who are homeless. We advertise through a national newsletter, both the VFW's Auxiliary, which is I'm a member of, and the Comrades. The difference is Auxiliary are members via direct descendant of a foreign war. The Comrades are actually the people who participated in a foreign war. We are a nonprofit charitable organization. We are private because you have to meet certain membership requirements. We have a lot of priority needs for the post. Building maintenance is the big one. We need a new roof. We've got a lot of rotted wood to be replaced. We got continuous elevator maintenance. We got decks and steps that they're an endless process of having to recover. Updating the beach camera. We want a proper outdoor fence that will also help with the sand dune maintenance. And that's just to name a few of them. Y'all remember the public service cost of that building and what it took. We're right over there on the front beach. We're not as big as that building, but we have the almost exact same kind of problems that they would have, and we need some support. The ATAX committee gave us a unanimous ruling, and I'm hoping that you guys will do the same. And I'm open for any questions.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
You.
Thanks, George.
Hi, everyone. I think I've seen a lot of your faces before. I'm Stephanie. I'm the Strategic Partnerships Officer with the South Carolina Aquarium. Our request for $10,000 in ATAX funding was approved as well. We requested this for our Turtle Trek, which is a 5K Sunset Beach Run that takes place at the Isle of Palms County Park on Saturday, October 9th. For those of you who are not familiar, the Turtle Trek is 5K. It also has a kids fun run, award celebration, and a beach sweep. So the goal of this event is really to raise $75,000 for our Sea Turtle Care Center and promote litter-free beaches and sea turtle conservation. So this is a great way for us to do this with our runners. We have about 700 runners come and about 1,000, 1,500 overall spectators attend the event. So the goal is to raise money for our sea turtle patients and teach everyone to leave the beach with everything that they come to the beach with. This event's been going on. This is our 6th event, and we have been so fortunate to receive ATAX funding every year. And we really appreciate your consideration, and I think it's had a really tremendous effect on the success of this event. So do you guys have any questions for me?
Forward to it. We love the aquarium.
Oh, we'll come visit anytime, please. You guys come in anytime.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is financial statements through the end of May. Debbie, you want to run us through those? And you should have that in your packet or online, either one.
Sure.
Here they are. So, May 31st, 2021, almost done with the city's fiscal year. All the trends look good. The city will end FY21 much better than expected. And in some cases, in some funds, even better than FY19. Which is pretty amazing considering all that has happened during the past year. The general fund in particular, I think it's going to really have a good year compared to budget. Of course, we've talked about this. We had a very conservative budget to start with. And so almost every category is going to beat the budget by the end of the year. Local option sales taxes, business licenses, rental licenses, you can see this particularly for business licenses, rental licenses, and building permits were already ahead of budget before we even add in June. Parking, which last month we thought parking would probably not be able to make its budget, but I think it will based on collections for May. And June will be a big month. June will be a big month also for local option sales tax because there's a couple of months in arrears there. So we'll be collecting in July and August and accruing it back. Franchise fees, the Dominion Energy, 6-figure amount comes in right at the end of the year. Insurance licenses, the broker's tax, that's another 6-figure amount that comes in right at year end. So with all of that taken into consideration, I think that we're going to beat the budget in the general fund by about $1.6 million, which is awesome. And it could be, we could end up better than that. On the expenditure side, this forecast has been revised a little bit in a more favorable way. Last month, I thought we might be over budget in expenditures by quite a bit, but now I think it's going to be a very reasonable amount. And it will still include some salary issues that we've talked about, the recapture of the 2.5% FY 20 merit increase that was delayed due to the concerns over COVID. That's included here in the forecast, and some other recurring situations related to overtime in the fire department because of some long-term FMLA absences. So all in all, I think the general fund's going to end up pretty darn good. And we'll come back to you in a month or 2 or 3 with a final number. And then, of course, city council can decide how they want to allocate that, the difference between revenues and expenses for the year. Any questions?
You have one, please. Your current fund balance, hospitality taxes, just a tad over $1 million. The budgeted fund balance is 630, which is, this is a May statement, is, looks like 477,000. And the forecast fund balance is 616. Do you think that it's going to come in closer to the $1 million than it is to the 600? That's on the supplemental financial page.
Right, I see what you're talking about, hospitality tax. So that is one of the areas where we have not done as well as we thought we would in the budget. So this forecast does assume that the fund, the hospitality tax fund, will end up at approximately 1.494. No, I'm sorry, $616,000, which is a little bit better than was budgeted, but not by much. I'm hoping we'll have a really good June.
You know, and you want to spend a lot of money to get it down that much. Hope that's not the case, but anyway, that clears that up for me, thanks.
So one thing that might be impacting that is we haven't done any of the transfers from the tourism funds into the general fund. So that's included in the forecasted fund balance, but not in the current actual fund balance.
Yeah,
So that's gonna make a difference. And I meant to mention that all the transfers, we haven't done any transfers from tourism funds to general funds or the marina yet. All that will happen in June. Stay tuned on FY 21. We'll report back next month.
Third slide.
Supposed to be saying, next slide, and I forgot. All right, legal expenses. This is kind of a new schedule for us, and we can tweak it a little bit as y'all request to try to get exactly the information you're interested in. This is just for the last 12 months. It's not a fiscal year-to-date thing. It's 12 full months of expense from June 2020 to May 2021. And I've sorted it by grand total. Moving on to the tourism revenues. Municipal accommodations fee, you can see we're continuing the trend, the positive trend. We're ahead of the budget, ahead of FY 20, and ahead of FY 19. You can see that for April, the actual collection was $68,000 compared to $53,000 in April of FY 19 before COVID. That's good. And that whole theme continues, the state aid tax money. No more news on the county ATAX pass-through. I reported last month and maybe the month before that Charleston County representatives have indicated that they will be able to pass through funds to the city for FY '21 and FY '22. But we have not yet been given a dollar amount or received the money. So we won't count on that, and it's not included in any of the forecast numbers. Here's hospitality tax. And this May is the first month that we've seen kind of a return to normal with respect to hospitality tax. And like I mentioned, I expect a very good June. Next page is the beach preservation fee. This is, of course, a repeat of the muni ATAX schedule. But I did kind of want to just point out that this is about $1 million a year that the city is saving, for the most part, towards future beach projects. And, you know, right now that fund has in it, you know, $4 million. So we don't talk about this fund a whole lot, but it does feel good to know that the city has that nest egg ready for when it is needed in the future. We know it's going to be needed at some point, and we are in a good position to be able to address that better than the city has ever been before because of the new fee.
Please don't say we'll need it.
Don't jinx us.
Well, yeah,
It's just like regular maintenance.
that's
Yeah.
right.
Just maintenance.
Local option sales tax. Again, really good recent month. There is the lag time, which is why elections are delayed. But again, above FY '20, above budget, above FY '19. Moving on to marina dock replacements. Yeah, that's a good page. Actually, you can forward one more page. Yeah, there's the totals. The salmon dredging pay app 5 and 6 have been made. Next page. Drainage phase 3. So in April, that are showing up on this schedule, you can see Gulfstream Construction pay app 1, 2, and 3. That's kind of the first action we've seen on the contract that I could report to you. So 613,000 spent in FY '21 on drainage phase 3, engineering and design, and then also the small projects in the basin that we have discussed in the past. So progress getting made there. Next page, public safety building repair. No change since last month. You can see the contingency that we were able to recapture, 223,000 and 39,000 of the Trident contingency. And then moving forward 2 more slides. Yeah, next one. Then 618,000 of the city's contingency. So $881,000 of unused contingency and material savings for the project.
Super.
unless something changes, this will be the last month that we. Okay. Any questions?
Mayor.
I think we ought not get drunk on these tourism funds. 'Cause everything I read says it's booming out there. But, travel is gonna pick up, people are gonna start flying again and moving around. So right now, we're still got a captured market. But, always, we've done a great job being conservative, but fingers crossed.
Yeah. Europe's still closed. Cruises are just starting up, so we're a good option for a lot of people still. You're right.
In fact, some, like Carnival Cruise Line still delayed in Charleston here.
September, isn't it?
I think that's
Think
right,
so.
Jimmy. Yeah. Other questions, comments? Again, so Debbie was, in the general fund, looks like about 1,700,000-ish that we'll have over expenses, and that does not include the county of hopefully 500,000, give or take, and we're gonna do a quick update on the American Rescue Plan in a minute. It does not include any money with regard to that, so really just surprisingly a great year, so that's awesome. Thank you, Debbie, appreciate that. We're gonna try something a little bit different this week. Our next item is capital projects reports. I know we hit on these in council meetings when we're doing committee report outs, but we have some really good, big projects going on, some big spins going on the island. And I just, Deborah, it's easier to say than Debbie, Desiree, and me.
That's a good one.
It's shorter, actually. We met, I just feel the need to highlight what's happening with our projects, just at a pretty high level in this Ways and Means. We are spending a lot of money on some really good visible projects around the island. So just wanted to take a few minutes and make sure we're all on the same page and residents are on the same page for the most part. So
I'll take it.
take it away.
All right.
So I'll go through each of the major projects. You may not be able to see, this is going to be shared with you all and included in the packet moving forward, but I'll start with the Marina Restaurant renovation project. I've sort of divided it in categories. I'll give you an update on the building construction. First, Dominion Energy has relocated the transformer box that was used to be located in front of the outside outdoor bar. That's been relocated to the location closer to the parking lot. The upstairs roof strapping has been secured and inspected. They've completed the demolition on the intercoastal waterway side and the outside bar. Those are shown in the pictures in that slide. The footers and steel columns have been completed closer to the boat ramp side, which will be the facade, the entrance to the restaurant. Construction materials have been ordered for the bar and the rear deck. Mechanical, electrical, and plumbing plans have been completed for team review. They've been stamped. And those plans have been sent out for some subcontractor pricing so that they can build that into their budget. Plumbing work is expected to start this week, and framing at the deck and the bar is expected to begin when materials are delivered, and that's expected the next week, the week of June 21st. As you all know, we've hired Insight Group to serve as the city's owner's representative to oversee the construction of the rehabilitation of the restaurant. We had a kickoff meeting last week with the marina, the restaurant tenants, Douglas and I, and of course, Insight Group. They have reviewed the design plans and the specifications that were provided by the tenant. We will start weekly meetings, hopefully this week on Thursday. All team members, just to keep updated with every progress, with all progress with the building. For the restaurant dock improvements, as you all know, we are contractually obligated to make some aesthetic improvements to the section of the dock that's leased to the restaurant. I have received a proposal from Salmon Dredging for this work, and we're in the process of securing additional proposals. The proposals I got from Salmon Dredging, it's in the $17,000 range, and just keeping up with our procurement code, I'm hoping to get at least 2 additional ones. Parking lot improvements, as you all know, council approved, we're still with the restaurant. As you all know, council approved not to exceed $60,000 for the improvements to what's going to be the employee parking lot. We've executed that contract and that work is being scheduled to begin in mid-July. So now we'll move forward to the dock rehabilitation project. As you all hopefully have seen, Dock Area C, which is the restaurant and the face dock, have been installed, including the anchor pilings. Luckily, no piling driving issues were encountered when those were being installed. All team members have walked the docks and finalized the location of the power pedestals and fire suppression cabinets. These are expected to be installed in the coming weeks. Cleats and bollards have been installed as well. The gangways for Dock Area C are in order. They are expected to be received at the end of this month or early July. We are seeing significant impacts from drastic shortage of materials and chain supply delays that are really impacting every portion of this project. As you all, we've heard from other projects and certainly what's going on all over the world due to the pandemic. The goal is to have Dock Area C completed and turned over to the marina manager before July 4th, so that after that, we can start the demolition of Dock Area B, which is the charter docks, the finger docks that are located in front of the marina store. We believe that we will make that timeline. ATM, Salmons, Evanson Schmidt, and Epic continue to work on finalizing the fuel hut design for submittal to the building department for permits. Still remaining is the final structural connections and electrical engineering for the interior of the hut. We have a follow-up meeting with everybody involved this Friday to get it finalized and submitted to Douglas's office for permits. Yesterday, ATM received a submittal package for the fuel docks and the fuel platform from Structure Marine. So that's being reviewed and then approved so that materials may be ordered. As you all know, we talked about it last month and we certainly mentioned it at Real Property about the builder's risk insurance that we have for the docks for this project. That policy expired on June 1st. As you all remember, the insurance company wasn't willing to provide insurance coverage during the storm season. So June 1st was when that expired. I finally received a proposal from the insurance agent yesterday for an extension through December 1st in the amount of $27,600. That does not include wind, flood, or any named storm coverage. So we would still be, just companies are not willing to protect that. It's too big of a or too high of a risk, I should say. But this would protect from theft, fire, any lightning damage, so on. So I'm mentioning it today because I expect to request the mayor for approval to include this in the city council agenda next Tuesday for consideration. Certainly up for discussion by you all about where the city is in terms of a risk tolerance in either not insuring it or insuring it, pursuing this coverage for the remaining of the project. Another thing I wanted to mention is I had a meeting this week with Kirby and Salmons Dredging, obviously the main contractor. And there is some chatter about subcontractors wanting to bring forward to the city some potential change orders due to just the increasing in pricing material that they're seeing. It's pretty dramatic. The steel, wire, copper, the cost of that has increased dramatically. And we're evaluating that, looking at the contract and making just determinations before we bring it to council, but just wanted to foreshadow that that's something that everybody's been struggling with because of I guess the pandemic and chain supply impacts. Next slide. So now we'll go through phase 3 drainage, the outfall projects.
Desiree, if I may, so
Yeah.
just, empathetic to rising cost, but just something for us all to think about if we're going to have that discussion is that's every project down there. That includes the restaurant as well.
Mhm.
So when we start looking at the city's portion of cost and then look at, our new tenant's portion of cost who's suffering from the same things, I'd just like to be clear, are we not opening Pandora's box on everything down there? Because nobody's immune to rising cost right now. And I think everybody knew that when they entered into the bid process. So something to think about.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
at this time, I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules of order to hear new business 7E on the agenda so that the young lady didn't have to wait.
I'll second that, Jim.
That's the aquarium,
Yep.
turtle track.
I know she's really enjoying the rest of this. so.
Sometimes it's the price of admission. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I'll just, of course, we all have a heart for the aquarium and,
Just a motion to.
Reorder. Yeah.
oh, okay. Oh, that's right.
Councilmember Popson,
Aye.
Councilmember Streetman,
Aye.
Councilmember Moy.
Aye.
Councilmember Ward,
Aye.
Councilmember Buchanan.
Aye.
Councilmember Bounce.
Aye.
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Mayor Carroll.
Aye.
Councilmember Pounds.
Aye.
All in favor?
So item 7E is consideration of recommendation from the ATAX Committee of an application by the South Carolina Aquarium for funding in the amount of $10,000 for the Turtle Trek 5K project. Do you have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second. We all have a heart for the aquarium.
I've heard that.
And, but I will also add, and it does fit with where we're going and where we've been in terms of environmental protections that Isle of Palms supports. But I would like to specifically mention that the aquarium's conservation team comes out and has been a partner with Isle of Palms cleanup crew since the beginning in educating people about litter and helping track our statistics on our, and they have been out at every single sweep that we have been, so.
John.
Thank you. Before I start, in case this sounds like I don't want it to sound, I'm a definite yes for this. But not because of the great things that the aquarium does, which they do, but because of what this is meant to be spent on. The ATAX spending is meant to be on things that bring visitors to the island. So I think, we've got in our packet, we've got the application. I think they do a great job demonstrating how they bring local and not local visitors to the island. The fact that they do great stuff is just a nice little bonus for us that we get to support such an amazing cause. The one comment I'll have that I've spoken to the city administrator about is the way that we engage with ATAX in general, especially with events like the aquarium is doing. I know they typically offer us placement on print and digital advertising. And I think I'm pretty confident that we typically send them to iop.net. We should really be sending them to the lodging section of our website so that we can help our property management companies. If people are going to that website from the advertisements, they're probably looking for lodging. Let's make it easy for them and make it easier for our property management companies to book rentals. Yeah.
Other comments, questions? Nicole?
Councilmember Popson,
Aye.
Councilmember Streetman.
Aye.
Councilmember Moy.
Aye.
Councilmember Ward.
Aye.
Councilmember Buchanan.
Aye.
Councilmember Bell.
Aye.
Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Mayor Carroll,
Aye.
Councilmember Pounds.
Aye.
All in favor?
Jimmy, is anybody else behind me?
Oh, gee, you need anything?
But you're welcome to stay.
I have to get my mojo back.
Yeah, get your
Reestablish the
Did we
mojo.
interrupt your rhythm?
You did,
You know,
but
where's
but that's
mojo?
okay.
You can recover just like that. I know you.
Jimmy, thank
All right, so where were we?
you.
Phase 3 drainage. So there are two components of this. We have the outfall project, and we'll talk about that one first. So in terms of permitting, as you all know, permitting is very complicated, and even for these 3 projects, there are 14 permits required. 12 of those have been submitted. 2 depend on the 41st Avenue critical area permit, so those are in process. Of the 12 that have been submitted, 2 have been fully approved, which are the ones related to the Forest Trail and 30th Avenue infrastructure critical area permits. 4 permits have been conditionally approved and 6 are being processed currently. For construction, our goal is to begin work on the 30th and 36th Avenue outfalls in the fall of 2021 and start construction for the 41st Avenue outfall in fall of 2022. So next steps will, what we're going to be working on in the next month or two will be considering amending the Thomas and Hutton contract to include bidding and construction oversight services. You may recall we did that recently, but that was associated with the small but high impact projects that are being done today. So that'll be a component that we'll have to consider and City Council hopefully approve. They're going to be preparing the bid package and getting that through the proper channels and hopefully be ready to issue a notice to proceed by September if our schedule continues as we expect it to. Next Tuesday, City Council will be asked to consider an easement agreement for the 30th Avenue and 36th Avenue outfall. We're proposing just adjustments to that easement because of the placement of the new infrastructure. I'm expecting the final document from Waldoons this week, and we'll be sending that over to you all for consideration and approval next week. So last project will be the internal projects associated with phase 3 drainage. Next slide. All portions of these projects are expected to be complete by July 2nd, except for 41st Avenue. So I'll go one by one. Sarah Drive, that one's been completed. We're waiting on final sod placement. It's expected by mid-June. Forest Trail, that's complete except for final cleanup. Same thing with Cross Lane, the project at Cross Lane. 32nd Avenue, there's still the need to relocate a force main on the east side of the road. And also waiting on sod for some areas that have been disturbed. And then 41st Avenue, hopefully you can see from that map, the 41st Avenue project was composed of 3 different components. 2 of those 3 have been completed. And the one at Forest Trail and 41st Avenue meet, that work, we talked about it last month that we wanted to delay it until Labor Day because it requires significant road closures in that area. And we didn't want to do that, obviously, during the season. Would significantly disrupt the operations of the marina and just traffic overall on 41st Avenue. So we're going to be delaying that until after Labor Day. Any questions?
One question, sir. Ma'am. 14 permits. I mean, I can see OCRM, DHEC, Army Corps, and SCDOT, and Douglas. Where's the other 9? No, you don't have to say that. I'm just going, wow.
Yeah, it is a complicated project for sure.
Well, and you wonder, when we walk through some of these projects, and thank you for doing that, Desiree, we, much less the residents, are wondering what takes so long. to make something happen. I mean, some of this started when I was on planning commission, 3 or 4 years ago, and they're complex. Number of permits, getting funding. It's bigger than a bread box, unfortunately.
It's an act of labor.
And love. I thought you were going there.
And Philip, each permit takes months. I mean, it's not,
Some take more than a year.
yeah, it's a long conversation.
Yeah. Mayor, it's alphabet soup for sure between all the permitting agencies. Yeah, it's crazy. Other questions, comments? Hope you found that helpful, just to give a
Very
real
good.
high level of all the, again, we're spending a lot of money on the island, and rightly so, on some really good projects. So thank you, Desiree, for doing that. Item 6, old business update on American Rescue Plan and the city's funding allocation. You'll recall last meeting or meeting before, we talked about this is part of the stimulus package that's going straight to states, counties, municipalities. About 350 billion, rough numbers, going to those entities. The direct recipients have already received their money. So the direct recipients are municipalities bigger than 50,000 residents, states, counties, tribal governments, and territories. So that's all already happened. The indirect recipients, again, interesting term, the non-entitlement cities, which are us, flows through the state, unfortunately. And our state has not voted to receive those funds yet. So we don't even have, the state doesn't even have possession of the 19 billion, our share of the 19 billion that's coming out to these size cities. Because we were expecting, not in the forecast, but we were expecting our first payment about now, end of May, to have the first payment. Our allocation, good news, we originally thought it was about $1.6 million. It's going to wind up being just under 2.2 will be Isle of Palms allocation of this stimulus money. And we'll get it in 2 tranches. You'll remember we have to spend it on certain things and we have to spend it within a certain time frame. So again, what we told you last month or the month before when we had this conversation, we will go away and come up with some ideas or thoughts around where or how to use this money. Desiree and I've had a couple of conversations that I think we could have some interesting ideas for you to think through maybe in the next month or so. I know the governor held a news conference this afternoon, but it was primarily around what the state had received and how to invest those monies. So I don't unfortunately have a time frame of when we're expecting our first payment of the 2.2 million. Desiree's in contact, Debbie too, with MASC, just to keep in contact as far as timing or changes or expectations. And as that evolves, we'll let you know. But I really would like us to come back with some solid options for you to think about and how to spend that money. Because I think we have 2 years, if I remember right, is our time frame on spending those monies. Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
is there any danger of us getting less than the 2.2 million, like some of the direct recipients receive significantly less than they expected, correct?
Correct. I'd love to say no to that question, with some authority, but I mean, it's all out there, published and printed and done at this point. It's 2.17, I think, is our actual number. So that the state does not have authority to change or hold those funds. Rusty, is about all I can say to you. So I can't imagine that number is going to change. It's just the when.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. Susan.
That money could be used to apply to projects already underway and perhaps make up the difference when we're seeing escalating costs.
Good. I mean, there's a laundry list of things you can do, a really short list of things you can't do. So, yeah, it's fairly clear on how you can use the funds. Yeah. I don't think that'll be an issue with everything going on. Yes, sir.
Can we fudge a little bit with our residents, with our vacationers, how many people per house? And with our day visitors, I bet we could get up to over 50,000 people.
Any given
We count a
weekend.
weekend.
Nice try.
We do a weekend census.
But then you might get less money.
Creative accounting. I like it. Very nice.
That's what accountants are for, right?
Other question? Yeah, I was gonna say. Wrong CPA if you're looking to fudge numbers. Other comments, questions, Debbie or Desiree, anything to add? New business, all of this is in your packet. Hopefully you got a chance to look at it. Everything's budgeted, so I don't think there's any surprise here, but we'll run through each one. Item A, report of purchase of John Deere Gator UTV for fire department in an amount not to exceed 20,000. It was a state contract purchase and it was in our 21 budget. So this is just, these first two are just a report out. First three actually are just a report out that are happening. Item B is a report of purchase of a jet ski for the fire department in an amount not to exceed 14,000. Again, in our fiscal 21 budgets, we're trying to get that in before month end. And the last one is report of repairs to the public safety building gate in the amount of 12,167. Again, in our fiscal 21 budget. Deb, is there anything to add? Any of those? Any questions, comments? Okay, thank you. Item D, consideration of approval of the Axon body camera, in-car camera video software and data storage. Again, a state contract purchase. You have all this in your packet. We reviewed it in some detail at the public safety meeting this week. So if I can have a motion and a second.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Anything to add, or Chief, you want to add anything to it?
This would be to replace our current camera system that we have in place. It is antiqued and difficult to remove videos from in-car and body camera in a timely manner to get them out to be compliant with FOIA and to be compliant with Brady motions and discovery motions made for court purposes. So this would fix that. It would also remove the storage on site to a cloud-based storage that is CGIS compliant. So it will be better for us. It will get things moving faster. And another benefit it would have would be if we had a critical incident, I would actually be able to view the video from my house before I responded and have an idea of what was going on and could quickly share that information as necessary with the city administrator.
Thank you. Chief, what's the lifespan of the existing equipment and what's the expected lifespan of this equipment?
We are at a point with the current equipment that as it's going down, which is more frequent than we would hope, especially the server that we currently have, the server is end of life and we are patching it as much as we can.
It's a
And
local server?
it is, it's a local server on site there. It only plugs into the system when we need to upload things. And so that's part of the reason it slows it down. The benefit to the contract that we'd be moving to with Axon would be that every 3 years, in-car cameras are replaced, and every 2 years, 5 years for in-car cameras, they're replaced with newer in-car camera systems. And every 3 years, body worn cameras are replaced with newer updated systems. So it keeps us cycling more current technology in place.
You'll see in your packet, this is a, John, to your question, kind of, this is a upfront cost as well as we are signing up for an ongoing servicing and, renovation of equipment as we walk forward. So, Nicole?
Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Bell,
Aye.
Councilmember Buchanan.
Aye.
Councilmember Ward.
Aye.
Councilmember Moy,
Aye.
Councilmember Streetman,
Aye.
Councilmember Popson,
Aye.
Mayor Carroll,
Aye.
Councilmember Pounds.
Aye.
All in favor?
Thank you. We've already looked at E, so item F is consideration of recommendation from the ATAX Committee of an application by VFW Post 3137 for funding in the amount of $12,000 for facilities maintenance. So I have a motion and a second. Mayor, thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Ryan. You got two mics up there and I still
I know.
couldn't.
Stereo.
Jimmy?
Yeah, I'd like to revisit, this request is coming from hospitality tax. Is that where it's being funded?
State aid tax.
So I just wanted to talk to the treasurer briefly about her feeling about how healthy that fund balance is being projected. I was asking specifically earlier, I thought it was hospitality tax, but I was mistaken. So that balance that looks to be the current actual balance is $1,896,000. How healthy, how do you feel about that fund going forward?
I feel fine. It's a very solid revenue stream.
Okay, very good. And in light of that, I'd like to make a motion to, the motions were $12,000.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to bump that up 3,000 to 15,000, and VFW does an awful lot for the city. And I know how their accounting works, and they're always just barely hanging on. And it's the only one on the coast in the entire United States of America, and I think that they could be they could really use the money. And they don't come to see us every year. So if you turn it down, that's fine, but I just thought we ought to help them out as much support as we feel is reasonable.
I'll second.
Discussion? Of the
Well,
amendment, yeah,
I think the discussion will be related
to the bigger.
to the bigger topic regardless.
Right.
I'll make the same comments. I don't think, I would assume, because I barely know much about the ATAX statutes as they are, but for the sake of public, the ATAX funding that we get has very strict uses, and the recommendations from the ATAX committee come with all kinds of strings attached. And so there's a set of requirements that have to comply. So I know that staff reviews these applications before they go to ATAX and before they come to us to make sure that they're in compliance. So we know when they're coming to us, they're meeting the statutory requirements of are they bringing people to
Yeah,
the
it clearly states that funds can be used for civic organizations.
Absolutely.
Building maintenance.
Wholeheartedly. Again, just for public's sake, this is a very specific use of funds that is permitted.
Right.
And the VFW, to your point, Jimmy, the only VFW on the coast. We know veterans travel, families of veterans travel, and when they're trying to figure out where they want to go, often that's something that they look for, and there's no better place to be than on the beach. So I think they're fulfilling the mission, helping bring people here, and that's all I have to say about that.
I love it. So we'll vote on this amendment. You know, I have a little bit of concern. They've come to us for 12,000 for specific needs, and they've outlined a budget for that. And I think we should stick with the original money personally, but that's just my opinion. So Nicole, we're voting on the amendment first. Okay, so the amendment to take it to 15,000.
Councilmember Buchanan,
Aye.
Councilmember Bell,
Aye.
Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Ward,
Aye.
Councilmember Moy,
Aye.
Councilmember Streetman,
Aye.
Councilmember Popson,
Aye.
Mayor Carroll,
Aye.
Councilmember Pounds,
Aye.
all in favor?
So back to the original motion. We have a motion and a second on that already. Comments, questions? Randy?
Yeah, I mean, I just to Councilmember Moy's comments, I had concerns as to the purpose. Could we do maintenance, for example, which was the request? And I'm guessing more than one of us has reached out to city administration today to explore what we could do, because it's an unusual request, but I was very comfortable that the answer was yes, that could be used for that. Just to echo everybody else's sentiments, I don't think there's a better location on the planet for the VFW, and wholeheartedly support the organization. Some of us were down there when the mural was dedicated on the wall. It is frankly, it's a blessing to be able to support the people that have served the country, and I think we should all get behind it.
Agree. Other comments, questions? Nicole?
Voting on the motion as
Thank
amended
you, sorry. Yep.
to 15,000. Councilmember Ward,
Aye.
Councilmember Moy,
Aye.
Councilmember Streetman,
Aye.
Councilmember Popson,
Aye.
Councilmember Buchanan.
Aye.
Councilmember Bell.
Aye.
Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Mayor Carroll,
Aye.
Councilmember Pounds.
Aye.
All in favor?
Thank you. Good conversation. Thank you all. Next two items, G and H, you had, in your packet, you had item H. These two, we are not going to vote on tonight. They're on here mostly for awareness more than anything. You, I think, have all been aware of the complaints and personally experience of the AV equipment in this building that we're in and in this room that we're in specifically. Ron, before he left, Desiree and I had conversation to go ahead and start this project before we get to the new fiscal year, because it's in the 22 budget. But to go ahead and start the bidding process, conversations, find vendors that we find out what we need to do from a software and hardware standpoint. So we are not voting on anything tonight. Mayor, I don't think we'll be ready for city council meeting next week either, potentially. But it will come back to you when we have full bids to look at and full details of software and hardware that we want to use to upgrade the platform in here. Desiree, anything?
Yeah.
Yes.
I have to say, I don't remember keying in on this so much when I must have come up during our budget discussions, but it does seem like a lot of money.
Yeah. But look from whence we're starting.
Yeah, it gives me some pause.
Yeah, I mean, part
Even
of,
though I respect the spirit of what it will provide for us, it's got a high price tag.
it does. And Susan, just to hit a little bit of it before we get to the full bid process later. A piece of this, item H specifically, is software, for lack of a better description. And it will help package production, it will help voting, it will help closed captioning, it will help search, whether it's us or residents from a video or print material or filed material online. So that's kind of a add-on, if you will, from the original, let's fix the AV system in here. A number of municipalities use this particular software type of software package. And I think it is a huge efficiency pickup personally. It is in the budget, doesn't mean we have to spend it, obviously, when we get the bids and come back and have a conversation with you around these two pieces. But so really the first item was more for equipment, Susan, to your question, and second one's for software pieces. Randy.
Yeah, I just would, and I was confused by it because I did think we were solving the audio visual issues. The only thing I would ask that we be really clear about what is capital and what is operating expenses as we go forward, because when you're signing up for things that are operating expense, it's in every year. And these really do come in both flavors.
Fair enough. Susan, that answer your question or
Yes, I appreciate
for
the
now? Yeah,
feedback. Yeah,
more to come for sure.
thank you.
Item I is consideration of providing free parking in the municipal parking lots from 5 to 8 p.m. to members of the IOP cleanup crew who participate in the beach sweeps on Monday afternoons. Just a couple of quick comments. This was brought to us by Chairperson Smith, which I think is a great idea. We have a number of off island folks that come on Monday evenings to help with the beach sweeps, and it's, to me, a goodwill gesture just to allow for free parking. We'll let staff figure out how to do that in conjunction with the public safety group. We don't need to solve that tonight. I know you do. So if I have a motion and a second, we can have further discussion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Other comments, questions? Susan?
Yes, thank you. And I
Sorry,
do
Jen.
appreciate y'all considering this. And symbolically, it is a wonderful way to thank people who come to help clean up our beach, to provide them with free parking while they're doing it. And pragmatically, the value of the labor that we receive in cleaning up the beach far outweighs any potential loss that we're having in parking fees. So thank you very much and appreciate it.
Jimmy?
What if you come on Tuesday?
No go.
You can't, no parking if you come on Tuesday, clean the beach?
Well,
What if you work on Monday evenings?
we're gonna,
Why are we
again,
singling out this one group? I
let's
mean,
let,
I did the Adopt a Beach from 21st to 25th for 12, 13 years with DX.
Mm,
But I, rode my bike down to the beach or to the golf cart. I'm just wondering if, what if, are we limited to Monday evenings? What if you change your date to Thursday?
Well, I can respond. Well, we are well established and have been doing this for 2 years now, well, going on our third year or fourth year. However, we are directing people towards Front Beach where they have to pay to park, for example. And on top of that, we do have a mechanism that would easily allow people to, for our public safety, to recognize that they're a member of the cleanup crew, which is a magnet that they can put on their car. So it's easy to administer.
Okay, so if somebody came on Tuesday, it wouldn't be a problem. If you got a magnet on, they're not gonna give them a ticket. You're here on the wrong day.
No, I think that we would limit it to the time when they're there for an official cleanup. Otherwise, I think it could get messy. Would be my personal feeling. I don't think we want to give people free parking anytime they come to the beach necessarily. well, that would be nice. But I think this is an
bigger
elegant way
conversation.
of directing people and encouraging people to come help clean up at the beach.
For the organized activity. Randy and then.
I just
Ryan.
got a simple question. There's a theory that somebody might actually stay past 8 o'clock and enjoy Front Beach. So I would just say when you're looking at it, look at the hours as well.
We don't, the
It's-
city doesn't charge.
After 8
It's
o'clock.
free.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's,
8 AM to 8 PM.
If they stay after hospitality, so make some money.
hospitality makes some money. You
Yeah,
got it.
exactly.
Rusty.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I think it's a great gesture, one that we should do, not only for, members of our own community, but for the off islanders that are coming to help as well. Susan, how many people typically participate on the beach this week? I'm
I
sorry.
would say, now that we're getting back in the swing, we kind of didn't have group gatherings last year. But now I would expect 30 to 50 during the summer season. Now,
Not all parties.
we don't keep good track of who's residents, who's not. I'd say it's probably maybe a little bit more off island. Sometimes we have visitors who are staying on the island who come and help.
Great. So that's pretty significant. I'm all in favor.
Nicole.
We are voting, I thought we're voting on them to consider it, but the specific numbers we're gonna be going through public safety, is that what you're saying?
No.
Beginning,
Staff will figure out how to,
administer
along
that.
with public
Okay,
safety.
that's what I wanted.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay. Councilmember Popson,
Aye.
Councilmember Streetman,
Aye.
Councilmember Moy,
Aye.
Councilmember Ward,
Aye.
Councilmember Buchanan,
Aye.
Councilmember Val,
Aye.
Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Mayor Carroll,
Aye.
Councilmember Pounds.
Aye.
All in favor?
Thank you. Our last item is discussion related to the 42nd Avenue ADA Boardwalk. You all know, maybe certainly the Real Property Group does, we have been zigged and zagged on this project for quite some time, talking about another complex one. Desiree will run through kind of the timeline and decision point that we're at, and we'll have a follow-up probably at council next week, I'm guessing. So,
All right, I'll wait until all of you have a copy of the timeline. Trying to be paperless as much as we can, but I think it's too small for y'all young folks to see from the TV. All right, everyone has a copy? So as you all know, this process started back in 2019. An initiative that was spearheaded by the Real Property Committee at that point, trying to find ways to enhance ADA access on the island. So I'll start, November 2019, that's when City Council approved the elevated ADA boardwalk for 42nd Avenue. That project was then submitted by the staff to the Greenbelt program in January of 2020. In July of last year, Charleston County approved our funding request, an allocation of about $100,000 towards the construction of the elevated boardwalk. At that time, as part of the city's funding application to Greenbelt, we did send letters to all of the adjacent property owners back early in 2020. But I think after the project was finalized and approved by Charleston County, we heard from the residents in that area from 42nd Avenue. They had some concerns about the project as it was being proposed. So the staff hosted a virtual meeting with all property owners and people that are interested in the project, not only those that lived on 42nd Avenue, but mostly residents, and heard their concerns and explained to them the project. And that happened in July of 2020 as well. Then from August through September, through Real Property, we discussed those resident concerns, and we were instructed to look at other alternatives. Some of the concerns that were expressed was, increased traffic in that area, the new boardwalks sort of becoming an attraction and potentially disrupting the residential character of that area. Also, concerns were related to adding more handicap parking spaces in that section and reducing the amount of residential only parking spaces that are currently at the 42nd Avenue beach access. So we went through the motions, looked at other alternatives, and one was presented, which is a dual purpose rollout modular boardwalk. Oh, another concern that was shared and also discussed at Real Property was constructing a separate elevated boardwalk adjacent to the existing access, which is also serves as an emergency vehicular access, was the need to cut vegetation to install the elevated boardwalk adjacent to the existing one. So from October through November, we looked at other alternatives. And like I said, ultimately the city Real Property Committee recommended and council approved changing the original project scope to pursue, instead of an elevated boardwalk, pursue this new, this different material, which it's a rollout modular boardwalk instead. So that happened November 2020, December 2020, we requested approval to the Greenbelt program for this change in scope. And that was approved early January 2021. Between February and April of 2021, we developed the design plans, RFP documents, and approval submissions to OCRM. Those were received by May, when we also received proposals for this new material installation at 42nd Avenue. Between May and June, in the past couple of months, we've done, further evaluation of this material, talked to potential users. We also discussed it with neighboring communities who have used this material in the past. And there were just so many concerns about maintenance, about the maneuverability of wheelchair access through that modular material. Also concerns about the difficulty in rolling it out and regrading the area, putting it back in. That was not possible. Again, other communities that have used it and no longer use it because of just complaints from users. And that really made us, take a step back and really consider whether this was a feasible option for us. The cost from the proposals, we're looking at, 120,000 to 120,000 range for this modular material. So we brought it back to Real Property this month, and we're basically seeking guidance from City Council about what the next steps should be. Certainly an option is to reconsider the original project, to do an elevated boardwalk at 42nd Avenue. Another option is just to keep the Moby mat there, maybe increase our maintenance efforts to ensure that the existing Moby mat is not bulging too frequently, and we maintain it flatter. And another option is to pursue the construction of a elevated boardwalk along 34A. That's another potential location that's flat enough that could support the required slope for it to be ADA compliant. It is a longer beach access path, so the cost would be higher, but it would be in an existing, it would be adjacent to our existing public beach parking areas, which again concerns about 42nd Avenue being restricted to residential only between 9 and 6 p.m. The only, 34, another pro for pursuing 34A is that the beach access, it's already there. So it wouldn't require any or minimal cut to vegetation, because we wouldn't be creating a new path. That's just something to consider. One challenge would be there are no handicap parking spaces. So that would be something that the city would have to work on with DOT to install, similar to what we have at 21st Avenue, some handicap parking spaces along the right of way there. So just food for thought, just some options for you all to consider and provide some guidance.
A little bit of history on this one, when you look at the map. When we say elevated and where this thing went through over this multi-year timeline, people got really, really concerned because it was listed as an observation area. And the residents got very concerned that we were going to build a bird watching tower or something equivalent along that, right? So I think for clarity purposes, when we say elevated, we're talking about a foot off the ground. We're not talking about some giant elevated area that's obtrusive into residential areas. The only other, this thing's been so back and forth, and part of it was because of the maintenance of the Moby mats and the cost of the Moby mats and them constantly pulling up. That's an option. But the other thing I would ask, why does, we're sitting here talking about additional monies and additional funds that are coming in. Maybe something for consideration is don't kill the 42nd Avenue idea because we want to move it to 34th, but maybe, something for consideration is, do we actually want to have more of these improvements on the island? And the other thing I'd add, at least we did accomplish getting an additional handicap parking place on 42nd Avenue through this conversation when it first began. So I'm just food for thought. I don't know that we need to be preclusive because we pick one or the other, or don't do anything and just use Moby mats.
Mayor.
I'm sitting there looking at Google Maps. I'm looking at the distance from 34th down to the beach, and knowing that area like the back of my hand. When it rains, it floods. Whereas 42nd Avenue is a pretty short distance. It's a big, wide, and it's off the main road for anybody who does have disabilities. So, I think it's must be increased parking for handicap. So I really think we gotta kind of going back and forth.
Susan.
So 34A that's a susceptible to flooding area, but the elevated boardwalk would help us with that situation. I mean, wouldn't that be one of the goals of this? Which is something I, as I've mentioned frequently, we really need to be trying to just be prepared and for sustainable solutions for those times when we have too much water, to make sure that people can get to the beach. So is this a potential solution then for that spot?
It would be, but it depends on when the city would start the boardwalk. If you look at 21st Avenue, there's a long section that's paved, a paved area, part of the beach access, and then it starts the elevated, the elevated component of the boardwalk. So without, really looking at it or deciding what 34A would look like, I'm not sure if the flooded areas would be mostly, paved similar to 21st Avenue, or if we do a full on, I don't think we would be proposing a full on boardwalk to the entire length of that beach access.
I mean, the areas where we have issues with flooding are really the low-lying areas where we've talked about potentially doing footbridges to get people past the soggy, oftentimes lakey areas. So that would be my hope, would be that we would look at a project that would help in that regard.
Rusty.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I tend to think how Randy's talking here also in terms of enhancement here. I mean, maintaining what we have at 42nd with the Moby mat, maybe going that direction there and making sure that we have good maintenance on that. And also exploring the 34A option as well, just to give us some more options here for residents and visitors alike. I guess another question I would have too is anything that gets done here or decided ultimately in terms of Greenbelt funding, we have to go back and have them take a look at the scope of the project and approve what we're doing at that point, right?
Correct.
And if we stick with Moby mat only on 42nd, there are no Greenbelt funds available for us just leaving it as is.
I mean, the city could request for Moby mat, but that's something we typically, we already have an inventory of it. So there's, no current need to go to Greenbelt funding for Moby mat to continue to maintain it.
Okay. And I also think I heard in our real property committee that Public Works Department really thinks that in regards to the Moby mat, that would be a quicker repair for them when things need to be maintained versus the e-pay that we were looking at. So they had come back and said that it would be easier to maintain the Moby mat itself rather than another option. Is that correct?
Yeah, they were not fans of the modular boardwalk and prefer the Moby Mat,
Right.
which we have.
All right. And the last thing I'll say is I'm very happy that Desiree, that you and Douglas took the time and listened to the citizens on this matter here too. And I know we had one citizen who really had a lot of good questions that were raised. And you took the time and made the effort to make sure we went back and evaluated what had already been presented and just slowed things down so that we can, as a council, make some, I think, more effective decisions on this. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Kevin.
Sort of gonna kind of repeat, but I'm with Rusty and Randy on, let's get back down to 42nd and figure out what we want to do there. And agreeing with the mayor, we've used 34th access quite a bit, and there's sometimes 3 to 4 foot of water. So how you're going to get a boardwalk over that, there's gonna be a lot of work needed to get that. So I think we just take that, what Randy said, and put that aside, and maybe that's the later thought, and just get back to 42nd.
Anytime we can improve the ADA access and expand it, I think it's a great idea. Like I said, we'll continue to work and improve the 42nd Avenue, but look at, improving the ADA access at 34 and take this back to real property, have them start running the numbers, see what it will take. And see what it will, I mean, we have pictures, Donnie has ideas, how much water is there, we have all that, a lot of information already. And see what we will take to make that happen as well and open up more ADA compliant parking in that area. It's the least we can do.
I would agree with you, Brian, because you think about right now, 21st is the only non-resident option
Mhm.
between the certain hours.
The public restrooms and sea cabins.
Right. And, in 40 seconds resident only for the certain time period. So, yeah, I would agree. Other comments?
Just,
Yeah, John.
A quick comment on the parking at 42nd. The handicap parking is not resident only.
Correct.
Just
Correct.
Mm, good
so
point.
that is not a resident only. So when we think about the purpose and the goal of what we're doing here in terms of creating accessibility, we're doing that at 42nd Avenue for residents and non-residents alike. And obviously that would be the case if parking wasn't, well, right now it's 34 is public.
Right.
Anyway, but I guess that would be my main point in the discussion we had in real property was, hey, we started this thing with the goal in mind. We thought we had a great solution. It wasn't. I think we've heard from folks with disabilities and family members of folks with disabilities that the Moby Mats aren't a great solution. And so I think keeping Moby Mats, if 42nd Avenue is going to be at the access point where we're creating access, the boardwalk sounds like the route that works. So for what it's worth, you can see the timeline. It's gone. Obviously, we know why it's taken so long, but to keep discussing something that we're doing this for a reason, the way to do it is fairly obvious at this point, from my perspective. I think we just need to move forward.
And John, my only comment, if you're a newbie coming down 42nd and you see the big resident only parking sign, I mean, it's really, to me, it's hard to figure out that, okay, well, those 2 spots at the end are okay for me. I mean, I hear you, but I'm one with.
One last
Yes, sir,
question,
Mayor.
it's more for Douglas. The height for a walkway without rails is 30 inches. Correct. So, I mean, that's keeps our cost down. It also keeps the view corridor open for the people who live around there.
Douglas, anything else you want to add?
No.
You want to think
Talks
about
about
it?
it.
Come on, Douglas.
Boy, that was the fastest Douglas answer I've ever had.
The short answer.
You good? All right, good conversation. Thank you. Miscellaneous business, next meeting, 6 PM Tuesday, July 20. No executive session needed.
Just one announcement.
Oh,
This is a good one. Farmers Market starts this week,
Yay.
Thursday.
All right,
The rec staff has done a phenomenal job at picking really great vendors. So we please share the word and hope to see you all there. It's from 4 to 7. The location is going to be slightly different than what we've had in the past. It's now going to be very close to the actual building. And yeah, we look forward to seeing everyone there.
Hooray.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll just- If you liked music in the park, this should have a similar vibe, maybe a little smaller scale.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
So is that one word or two words? by
Yeah, hey,
Douglas?
listen, I printed that. See if this